Good evening, friends, and welcome. It's my pleasure to be here with you this evening to speak about two of the greatest sources of inspiration in my life. The last Maharaja of Travancore, Sree Chithira Thirunal Bala Rama Varma, who was my great uncle, and Amma Maharani Sethu Parvathy Bayi, who was my great grandmother. There's a quote by Sir John Dalberg Acton. Many of you might not have heard the name, but many of you would have heard his quote, which is very famous. He said that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So this is something we see in action all over the world on a day-to-day basis. What gives power? There are so many things. Money brings power. Of course, money is a nice thing, but people say money is bad, not because money is bad, because of the power that money brings. Good looks can bring power. Somebody who is very beautiful or very handsome, doors will open for them automatically. Somebody who is born in a high-level family, by birth itself they have some power. People with superior intellect, they have power. People who are physically very strong, who can beat up 20 people, that brings power. People who can speak well, who are accomplished in some field or the other, either as a speaker or as a musician or in sports or a writer, in any field, if somebody is accomplished, that brings power. So, and power is, so all these things, physical strength is a nice thing, intellect is a nice thing, to be able to speak nicely is a nice thing. But these nice things make a person very rotten in more occasions than not. When we look at the royalty in Travancore, in India, and particularly Sree Chithira Thirunal Maharaja, he had all the qualifications to have become a very rotten person, because he was very intelligent, he was born in a very powerful family, he was very rich, he was extremely handsome, he was extremely accomplished. So all these reasons, a normal person would have completely gone crazy, even with one of these reasons. But he was not abnormal, he was supernormal. He is one of the few people I have encountered in my life directly whom we can really say he was a level above normal people. He was something divine about him. He lived to be nearly 80 years old, and I spent nearly 23 years with him. Of course, the first 3-4 years I don't remember, but the last 20 years I definitely remember very well. There is so much I can speak about Chithira Thirunal Maharaja, not necessarily related to Carnatic music. That area is taken up by his mother, Amma Maharani Sethu Parvathy Bayi. But Chithira Thirunal, we find so many international Swamijis who give gyan. No? They have their international network and they speak, they have an opinion about everything. But Maharaja, he never preached anything. But by example, he would teach us so many wonderful things in life, so many ideals, principles, values. There is, I'll just mention 1 or 2 examples since we started late and I don't want the concert to be delayed. We have the Ramayanam in Indian culture. The same Ramayanam, Valmiki Ramayanam is there, Tulsidas Ramayanam is there, Kambar Rama. So the same story of Rama is interpreted differently in different languages by so many people. I heard one number 30 or 300. There are so many different versions of Ramayana. So there is Kambar Ramayana, the sage Kambar, whose Saraswati Vigraham is kept in Padmanabhapuram Palace, which is brought here for Navaratri. That Kambar, in his Ramayanam, he has written one scene. I don't know whether it is there in the other versions of Ramayanam or it is Kambar's imagination, I don't know. But whatever it is something which touches me very deeply. He says, suppose Sita's wedding to Rama was fixed at 10 a.m. It got delayed by 6-7 hours. And the reason he says is that Sita's father, Janaka Maharaja, he welcomed Rama with his contingent. So Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna, their horses, their army men, their elephants, there's one entire contingent. And he honored Sri Rama with gifts and sweets and jewelry and clothes and whatever. And the same Maryada, the same honor he extended to Rama, he extended to every single person who had come with Rama, including the mahout for the elephant and the horsemen. So that took such a long time to honor all these people. So this is a very, very beautiful story of equality. And that I have seen with my own eyes, a personification of Janaka Maharaja in the form of Sree Chithira Thirunal Rama Varma. Because we were in school and he knew every single friend of mine by name. Suppose somebody's father is in a bank, or somebody had a surgery, or somebody was going abroad, anything like total recall. He meets a person and he'll say, how is your father? Last time he had a surgery, and he knows his name. So complete database of every person he met just once he would have. And for his birthday and for Amma Maharani's birthday, there would be big dinners. And we had our quota of how many friends we could invite. So I would invite my very, very best 5 friends as somebody. And we would have a very, very long table with vegetarian food as a buffet. The same food would be here on one side and there on the other side. And there will be one big pile of plates. And we were at that time, I'm talking of when we were 13 years old, 14 years old. Maharaja would stand and give the plates to every single guest, including these school boys who were 13, 14 years old. And till the last person took food, he would not eat. So he would ensure that everybody had food, and then only he would start eat. Sometimes he may even forget to eat. And see, now I'm standing here wearing a double vesti, while Maharaja, he would wear a single vesti, just one white vesti and a shirt. So people who see him, they would not imagine that this man ruled over a country, a kingdom, and he had his picture on coins and currency notes and stamps, and this East Fort itself has an RV, Rama Varma. So such a great man, how the transition from royal monarchy to democracy, we call him Maharaja, His Highness, Punna Tambaran. For us, Punna is pure gold. So for common people, he was Punna Tambaran. For us, he was Ponnammavan. We would always call him Ponnamma, golden uncle. So many things I do in my life. When I teach students, I don't let them fall at my feet and do namaskaram. And we get that on a regular basis. We start going crazy ourselves. Oh, Guru Garu, namaskaram andi. Like that, when they do, after some time, we start feeling, oh yeah, I'm something great. So those days, Maharaja used to tell us a lot of stories, mostly from the Puranas, then from comedy pictures he had seen of Laurel and Hardy, or N.S. Krishnan and T.A. Madhuram, people like that. And one thing which always struck me, at that time, of course, it was only pure entertainment. The value behind I didn't understand when I was 14, 15 years old. But later, be it Sri Rama or Akbar or Krishna Deva Raya or Martanda Varma, any great Maharaja, they would always have a Vidushaka in their court. So Vidushaka, in simplistic terms, is a jester, a court jester or a clown whose job is to make people laugh. So that's a simple job, but the respect Maharaja gave, Chithira Thirunal gave to these people, he would tell us stories about Martanda Maharaja and what Kunchan Nambiyar did. He would tell us stories about Akbar and what Birbal did, and Krishna Deva Raya, what Tenali Raman did. The way he spoke about these people, in my mind, I admire Kunchan Nambiyar more than Martanda Varma, I admire Birbal more than Akbar, and I admire Tenali Raman more than Krishna Deva Raya. I don't know Krishna Deva Raya or Tenali Raman, but the way Maharaja spoke about them, we realized, because they were not there just to fool around and make people laugh, but when a person is a king and they have absolute power, they get corrupt absolutely. So these Maharajas would employ these Vidushakas just to give a knock on their head when they are too crazy. Kunchan Nambiyar will say something which would expose the Maharaja's arrogance in front of the public. He'll feel ashamed and he'll become normal again. But those Vidushakas did that at the risk of their own lives, because the Maharaja gets angry, okay, cut off his head, or hang him means it would be death sentence immediately. So risking their lives, these so-called comedians actually put some sense into the head of the rulers. So whenever there's a regime where comedians are suppressed and they are not allowed to say anything, and only they are surrounded by people who say yes, 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 we can see what happens. The result is very, very unfortunate. So that is few words about Chithira Thirunal Maharaja. Coming to his mother, Amma Maharani, she was one of the favorite people in my whole life, because like me, two of her favorite things were food and music. So I think for her it was music and food. For me it's food and music. So she was an extraordinary cook herself. Till she died, she would lie on her bed and prop herself up with pillows and have a stool with a what we call kal chatti, pot made of stone, and make sambar and puliseri and things. It's so amazing. And she's one person who never bluffed. If she, again, by the time she died, we had mobile phones were not invented, but we had started getting electronic games. So we'd be playing a game. Immediately she'll come and ask, oh, what are you doing? Then I'll show, this is how. She's curious. A 5-year-old child has something she wants to learn that from. I had very good interaction with the architect Laurie Baker, some of you might know, in Trivandrum. So Laurie Baker told me he once met Amma Maharani for a function in University Women's Association, and she was talking in so great depth and detail about architecture. So he said he was stunned to know that this lady knew so much about architecture. It's the same about Carnatic music, about any topic. The thing is that she would never pretend to know something that she didn't know, and she would always not hesitate to ask and find out and learn. She kept learning, kept learning. And after she passed away, those days we had a magazine called the Illustrated Weekly of India. So in Illustrated Weekly of India, every week there would be a comic strip of Dennis the Menace. So after Amma Maharani passed away, in her room we found that she had cut and saved so many issues of Dennis the Menace comic strip. So that side was also there to her. And great musicians, we think of some people up in the air, Chamanguru Srinivasa Iyer, G.N. Bala Subramaniam, Maharaja Vishwanath Iyer, Alathur brothers. But we, my generation and people just above my generation also, we see these people as these grand old musicians. But we should remember that Amma Maharani called them before they were 20 years old. Chamanguru Srinivasa was only 18 years old when she called him to sing at Navaratri Mandapam. The violinist T.N. Krishnan was studying in SMV school in 4th standard as a 9-year-old boy. 9-year, not 9th standard, 9-year-old boy T.N. Krishnan played at the Navaratri Mandapam. So the vision, people whom Amma Maharani called when they were 19 and 20 and 25, whether it's T.N. Krishnan, Lalgudi Jayaraman, Umayalpura Sivaraman, Palgad Maniyer, so many people, G.N. Balasubramaniam, Alathur brothers, they all became legends later in Carnatic music. And Carnatic music, as many of us know, there is a lot of religious, caste, linguistic politics everywhere. So you have this thing, and if you don't have this thing, the sacred thread, it makes a big difference. So one of the greatest musicians of all time, and my personal favorite is the Mridanga Vidwan Parani Subramanya Pillai. So Parani Subramanya Pillai was not Parani Subramanya Iyer or Iyengar. So because he was Parani Subramanya Pillai, though everyone recognized him as the great, it's Palgad Maniyer and Parani Subramanya Pillai. It's just sun and the moon. But the only title he ever got in his life was from Amma Maharani. So many Parani fans are shocked when they realize he didn't have Padma Sree or Sangeetha Kalanati or doctorate or nothing. So she had that vision. If somebody sang well, that is it. It didn't matter whether they are from Kerala or whether they are this religion or this caste. So they're just recognizing merit and investing in the future. Even if we look at landed property, where I live now, it is Kavadiyar Palace in Trivandrum. It is one of the prime areas in Trivandrum now. But when Amma Maharani built Kavdiyar Palace in 1920s, there was nothing. It was just forest. There was absolutely nothing there. So just seeing something and, okay, 20 years later, what is this going to be? That vision she had. And of course, like all people, she had a lot of good and a lot of bad also. But in my case, I enjoyed just the good from Amma Maharani also, not as a grandson, but as a great grandson. I still remember once Shamangudu Srinivasayar, who was her pet, if Shamangudu said anything, if he asked her to sign a blank paper, she would sign and give. That much of power Shamangudu had over Amma Maharani. So once he sang in Navaratri Mandapam, he sang Devi Pavane. So he started on the first finger. Devi Pavane Seve Charane Ambade. Like that, he sang as something new. So next morning, those days, the musicians who would sing at Navaratri Mandapam, they would come to the palace the next day. So then, next morning, Shamangudu said, so how was the concert yesterday? She said, concert was very nice, but the Saveri was horrible. He said, so he was so shocked. You sing again. So Ragam, Tanam, Song, Naravil, Swaram. The entire main she made him sing next day. So that is Srinivasa, she used to call him. So, and for me, I owe my life specifically to Amma Maharani because there are so many music teachers in Trivandrum, male and female. But it was Amma Maharani who auditioned all the gurus in Trivandrum and picked Vechur Harihara Subramaniar as my guru, which is something I still haven't stopped thanking her for. And she told me, at that time I was only 13, 14 years old, I didn't know any music. I would listen a lot and I liked M.D. Ramanathan, that's all. But Amma Maharani said, tomorrow evening, 4:30 after you come back from school, you take a bath and be ready. Music classes are going to start. So I said, oh, okay. So then he's very good. Then he says, only thing, when he says Siddhivinayakam, so he doesn't close his mouth. He Siddhivinayakam. So instead of he says au. You don't pick up that habit. You see to it that you close your mouth. That's the only thing she said. Before Vechur Sir's class, I had not even heard of him at that time. And of course, I started learning from him. I would sing Vinayakam only. I didn't close my mouth. Many years later only, I realized the value of Sahityam, clarity and whatever. So I think I have exceeded my time because we started late. So now let us all enjoy the concert which is going to come. Thank you for listening to these very, it's not even 1% of what I have to talk about these people. I thank Sri Kumar of Swathi Thirunal Sangeetha Sabha for giving me an opportunity to share some thoughts about these two great people. Thank you.